Thank you so much for coming back. Thank you so much for your patience. This is Joanna the medium, and these are going to be readings for the month of May and June. They are coming late. I had some personal stuff come up. I had a loss in my family, and I was also hit with this energetic shift that made me feel, let's just say, discombobulated. So when that happens energetically, it's an interesting thing to go through, but it renders me not as effective when it comes to connecting. So I had to honor myself, and I had to honor my guides, and I needed to stay back a little bit and just allow this to pass through. The month of April and May have been quite challenging, to say the least, for many people. It has certainly been challenging for me. My understanding is that we were going through a massive energetic shift that has brought up a whole bunch of stuff to surface. So this would have affected differently to different people, but I am sure a lot of you were affected by it. So for me, it's coming to the end, but it has certainly not been an easy time to say the least. The month of May and June readings, or the month of May and June, are interesting because they felt very transitory to me. There is a lot of change in the air, and this could be because it's an after effect of the energetic shift. Most of the signs, if not all of the signs, are going through a lot of changes, transitions, a lot of endings, but also starting new beginnings. So very interesting to see. Almost every single one that I was doing had a component of ending on some levels, and endings are not bad. Endings just means that we are done with it. Our soul is done with it and says, okay, I want to experience something new and something different, something much more something bigger, and it's time to leave some things behind. So be prepared that the month of May and June, or whatever is remaining in May, you may actually have experienced some of this in May, but because it's coming out a little bit later in May, you may have already experienced this, or you will experience this in the remainder of May and June. So just be prepared that some of the energies might still feel a little bit shifty and slightly uncomfortable, not bad necessarily, but slightly uncomfortable. But I am being told that we're almost done with this energetic shift, and it will not happen for many years to come. We'll have little shifts, but this was quite, I almost said expensive. It was quite expansive and expensive on the energies, or on my emotions at least, for sure. Of course, these are general readings, so please listen to them. If they make sense to you, great. If not, listen to your moon, rising, or your other signs, or sun sign. And of course, if you would like a private session with me, that information is down below under show more section. I would be more than happy, honored to have a session with you. I think that's all I want to say. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for all your wishes. A lot of you have written to me asking if I'm okay, and yes, I'm okay, but it was challenging, to say the least. But thank you all so much for your concern. I truly appreciate it, and I am back on a regular schedule, and that's all I want to say. So again, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in July. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back, beautiful Taurians. Happy birthday for those of you who have birthdays in May and in April. Thank you so much for your patience. I have been really resisting doing the sign of Taurus because I'm a Taurus, and I have had, let's just say, interesting few weeks, and for some reason I was just resisting, but my guide said, no, you have to do this sign now. So I listened to my guide, so let's see what we have. As I tune in to the energy of sign of Taurus, whether it's your sun sign, moon sign, or rising sign, I couldn't help but feel that there was a lot of movement. I also felt there was a lot of changes that were taking place, but the changes were feeling to me more internally that would be followed by a movement that would eventually become external. And I feel that the movement will happen more so in June, while the internal change is happening in May. And also for some of you, it started well into April, some of you as early as March. So there seems to be a continuum of an energy change or shift that he's talking about that has started in or around the month of March and is affecting most of us, or many of us, who are on the path, whatever that is, according to my guide. And the shift has been quite substantial. Now, I haven't been posting for quite a while, and you guys have noticed, for those of you who follow me, that's one of the reasons I had other things come up, but the energy has been extraordinarily intense. And I have been feeling it greatly in many areas of my life, including my own energy, how I connect. I actually felt like I was quite discombobulated and literally pulled apart. So there seems to be that energy. There is, however, an energy of movement, but the energy of movement seems to be kind of behind the scenes. What I was also hearing is stop resisting the changes. Whatever changes are happening, some of those changes will be fundamental, as in financial. There could be work related, and I have cards for each area. But I'm actually being shown a cat. All of a sudden, he's showing me a cat. So, excuse me. And when I connect to that feeling, the message I get is be more like a cat. Cat walks. Cats are very independent. They walk their own paths. They're not necessarily pack animals. Does not mean that you're not supposed to be surrounded by people, but the energy or the intensity of the energy seems to be affecting your level of confidence and also your durability, meaning the strength that you feel or the strength that you don't feel. All of these things are seemingly coming up to surface in order to be dealt with, discarded, healed, whatever you want to call it. But the message, be more like a cat, basically signifies be more independent. Trust your instinct. Cats, animals in general, but are very instinctual. Cats are very instinctual. What I hear is when they look for prey, when they're in the wild, they're very instinctual, they're very stealthy, so they're very driven. So the message is be more like a cat, be more confident, be more independent, walk your own path, and don't ask other people for permission to be you. And that has certainly been affecting me. So if it has been affecting me, and I know there's been a whole bunch of planets in retrograde, so that has played a key component too in the energy shift, according to my guide. So I'm sure it's affecting to many of you who are listening. And if it's not affecting you, consider yourself blessed, because it has been a wild ride and it's not over yet. So let's go with the actual card. The card that represents overall energy. I actually hear the word movement, but the overall energy is the card Truth. I don't know, it's a major arcana card, but for this purpose, I'm using all major arcanas as far as what is the overall energy. When I connect to this card, 2 and 0 is 2. It is a symbol of choices. It is also a symbol of partnerships. And I hear the words, look the other way. So for whatever reason, the energy of May and June, and for some of you it'll be as early as April, but the energy of May and June is the energy of internal conflict. Not in a bad way. The conflict allows you to sift through that which no longer resonates with you, so that you become very clear on what it is that you want, which then will allow you to make certain decisions that will be aligned with your path, if you will, or where it is that you want your life to take you. This will connect to all areas of your life or some areas of your life. So it could be work, career, health, or it could be all of the above or some of, or not the other. So that is the overall energy. And I also hear the word choices. You have a lot of choices you have not been paying attention to. I'm hearing your work has been stable. So some of you may be worried about work, but there is more in store for you. So I'm going to show you the card again. This card basically, there is this person looking outside the window, sitting on or standing on a scale, weighing out options, and basically looking at long-term effects of what is happening now and what has been brought forward up until this point. And the word choices is very significant. I'm also seeing the number 7 as in the Chariot. I believe that's card number 7 because I'm seeing it in my mind. So it does signify swift movement. For some of you, there will be a move, and a physical move in some area of your life. And for some of you, it is a shift of energy or movement in energy. Some of you in a different direction, and some of you just with a more speedy way of doing things going forward. June seems to be highlighted here. And whenever you hear this message will resonate with you, but it may not resonate with you until the end of June, because I'm covering most of May and June, even though these messages are late for May. It does cover a period of about 8 weeks or so, 6 to 8 weeks. So choices, drive. I'm seeing the cat. The cat is shown to me symbolically as a black cat. Now, I don't have any preconceived ideas about symbolism of black cat being not lucky or unlucky. I don't have that. So that vision to me does not signify not having luck. To me, black represents the stealth, and stealth is about knowing what you want, needing to do what you need to do to get to the desired places, and also not being apologetic about taking control of your life. That's really what this symbol represents. Now, if you have a certain symbolism associated with black cat, it may speak to you in different ways, but that is not the message I get. It certainly is not a message of not having luck. If anything, it's the opposite. Now, what area or what chakra will be most affected or should be paid attention to the most in the month of May and April? And we have the card called, third eye. So third eye is all about psychic vision. This was shown to me in reverse, and I'm going to see if it's actually if it's supposed to be in reverse or not, or if I'm supposed to read it in reverse. He says no, but some of you need to pay attention to your higher vision. So there's 2 components here. Some of you, it connects to psychic vision and actually clearing some of the old baggage so that you can actually psychically see better. So this is about clairvision, clairvoyance, I believe it's called. For some of you, this is about long-term plans and looking at the future, which is what this person is doing. They're looking forward. They're looking forward to the future. Looking at the future and imagining the things that you would like to accomplish, even though those things are not happening right now. Because we're going through a change and a fundamental shift. Remember when I said there's a speedy movement, but the movement seems to be in the background. It's not in a physical sense. What is in a physical sense is a change, either physical, internal, or both. Because of that change, I feel like we are being primed to think and imagine things that we would like, because through the process of imagination and through the process of letting go of things that don't serve us while this shift is happening, the possibilities of solidifying your vision will become that much more prominent or strong, prominent, grounded, rooted. That's what I want to say. So very interesting message. So that's the overall energy. Now, when I put all the different cards for different components, so relationship, money, and health, I actually have 2 cards for relationships because he asked me to have 2 cards. So let's see what they are. So the first card, so the first card is manifest. So that's the proverbial magician. I'm using a different deck for this particular reading. So they have two major arcana cards so far. So within a relationships, new beginnings, and I actually wrote when I was shuffling cards and asking for the energy and a message for relationships, I actually wrote new beginnings, but new beginnings through the vehicle of change. And some of those changes are drastic changes. Some of those changes are subtle changes. But there is a revival in relationships, and this can cover any relationships. It could be romantic, it could be family, it could be friendships, whatever you want to call it. There seems to be a revival in the predominant relationships in your life. So when I say predominant, relationships that are solid or stable. So that could be a spouse, a best friend, a family member, anyone that you would consider as a solid part of your life that you connect to emotionally. So there's a lot of changes. For some of you, there are new beginnings in the area of relationships, but it is in the foothills of either dramatic or significant change. For some of you, the change comes through the source of separation. So separating from something or someone and starting brand new. And for some of you is reviving an old or an existing relationship, love, marriage, whatever you want to call it, or whatever applies to you. But it is through the process of change, and that change is internal. So when I was talking about the changes happening as a shift, anytime we change internally, it'll always affect our external life, because our external life is actually a reflection of who we are, what we feel inside. So there's no surprise that there's new beginnings, because you are changing fundamentally. Now, so that he's telling me to say, manifest what you will, but pay attention to where you are today. What does that mean? Don't lose track of where you are, but look forward to the future. It's almost like, don't neglect your current relationship or the state of your current relationship because you're thinking of future. Just because you're trying to manifest something in the future does not mean that where you are right now isn't crucial or doesn't need attending to. And I think you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, again, this would be for those of you who are in a relationship, or this could be other relationships that you are connected to, solid relationships. And I'm not going to split that into singles or people who are not single, who are with somebody, because he's asking me to just kind of combine all those relationships. So there's changes in relationships, and which ones you will know which applies to you, or what will apply to you as time moves on. Now, the second card is the card of throat chakra. So right away, and what's interesting, if you look at these two cards, there is a lot of blue in those two cards, and these cards don't always have the same colors. You'll notice that when I'm speaking, I feel like I'm being pulled apart. That's actually what I've been feeling for the last few weeks. And I'm trying to keep a lid on it, but it's kind of hard. So just bear with me. Through the process of change, make sure you speak your truth. Do not attack, but explore your inner truth and then voice it accordingly. So many times when we hold on to certain things because we do not want to say and look at what I'm doing with my throat, for the purpose of not upsetting somebody, not upsetting the status quo, having fears about speaking up, whatever it may be, it is crucial that in your relationships in the month of May and June, you are very mindful with your words, but you also speak your truth accordingly to where you are in your relationship, or where you are in any given moment, that comes to your relationship. So be confident in who you are, but don't step on each other's toes. Very interesting message. And then I'm seeing this. So if some of you have been battling for power, or if there's been a power struggle, try your best to step away and understand each other from the bigger perspective, as opposed to trying to prove your point somehow. And because that doesn't always, and actually almost never, bring good, solid results that are long lasting. It may bring you results, but they may not be lasting ones that you want. And I'm also hearing, don't be so stubborn about your stance. So if you feel you have a point, don't be so stubborn that in the process you walk all over the other person or make them feel small. So that's really interesting, because when that happens, relationships rarely survive, or at least they do not thrive. They're just kind of But when you allow yourself to speak your truth in accordance to what you feel, without trying to prove your power or stepping on somebody's toes, that's an entirely different area. That's actually an extremely empowering way to be. And I feel like there's some component here of maybe having some fears about speaking your truth, or having some attachments to your past, and being either having resentments towards people in your past. It's to do with rejection. So if you have, well, we all have been rejected at some point, let's just put it that way. But if you still are holding onto some stuff from your past, and it has to do with rejection or abandonment, and this could be for relationships or from parents or both. Typically, if it's from childhood, it'll almost always come into relationships. Make sure that you are clear on the fact that this is still very much within you, and try not to make the other person pay for it. Whether it is a friend, a family member, or a loved one you are with or committed in a relationship, romantic way, make sure you're very clear with what your intentions are. Okay, but there's new beginnings here. That's fantastic. But these new beginnings are in the foothills or in the heels of change. That much I can pretty much guarantee you. Okay. Now the next card is about work, finances, and career, and we have the card called Seek the Truth, but the card was in reverse. So this is what the card says. 7 seems to be coming up here. So this is career. Now I want to see why this card is being shown to me in reverse. So this is very much a mental card. This is to do with your thinking. And what I hear here is that you are missing the obvious. And the obvious seems to be that you are ignoring the fact that when it comes to your work, it's actually work life, your career, or your finances, you're not looking at the big picture. Let me just see if I can get a clear message here. He says they're not listening to their heart or your intuition. If you have been struggling in a work environment and you are ignoring the obvious, please don't do that, because the month of May and June are months of change, internal changes, like I was saying. And remember, the overall energy is looking at long-term goals, looking at your vision going forward. If you are not clear on what it is that it's not serving you, you will miss the opportunity to expand in your career, because that's what I'm connecting to going forward. So in other words, some of you, you need to put the old to bed and start over. Now, however you want to interpret the message, that's going to ring true to you. But what I get from this is that I feel like I'm trying to pull something from the environment that I'm in, which is work or career. But whatever that is not giving me satisfaction. So some of you are on the verge or on the brink of having a career change or changing a job. And I hear the words July. So I'm going to say anyway from May until beginning of July, even though this is covering May and June. Again, do not be afraid of changes. In order to make things better for yourself within your work environment, you have to make some decisions. Remember, we talked about it at the very beginning. Now, these decisions will have a far-reaching consequences regarding your future. But in order for you to make these changes, you have to take a certain stance. Now, whether the stance is because you need to stand up for yourself and you say, I don't deserve this treatment, therefore I'm going to move on, or the stance within yourself when you actually look at where you are and you're honest with what you have, and then you decide accordingly. In other words, you've got the card truth, you've got here, and you've also got as the overall energy. That is not a coincidence. Look at the truth of the situation and see if you can make improvements. If you cannot, you have to make a decision in order to be happy with where you are or to move forward or move on into something better. And the only way that will happen is if you are honest with yourself and what it is that you want. Remember this card, envision opportunities for yourself. You are going through a tremendous change, and energetic change always yields results in the outside world. So I feel like we are being primed, not just Taurus, but we are being primed for those of us who are on the path, whatever that is, according to my guide, tuned in or connected to our souls. Because we're being primed energetically, if you are struggling with your work, maybe it's time to let it go. And being in denial about it doesn't serve you any. You may not want to move forward for whatever reason, but at least don't be in denial about the fact that what you have isn't serving you. Now, obviously, this is not going to connect to all of you. This is going to connect to some of you, but it is connecting to finances and jobs. Some of you want to make more money or have more money making opportunities. And what I feel and what I hear is that you need to put yourself out there. Things aren't going to come to you. That's not how it works. But there's a fundamental component here. If you are struggling within yourself and if you're struggling with your confidence, which is what this energy is bringing up, you will have difficulty putting yourself out there. So again, I'm seeing the black cat. When a cat in the wild, or any other animal for that matter, needs to eat, it needs to go hunt. The mouse isn't going to come to the cat and say, here, I'm your dinner. That doesn't happen. And the cat has to rely on his or her abilities to hunt and get what he or she wants. So he's bringing the cat metaphor again forward in order to kind of help you draw a picture, help you understand what we're trying to achieve with this message, okay? Again, the message for some of you is don't be afraid to start over. For some of you, I see hands shaking. That to me signifies either new opportunities, or getting a new job or starting a new career in the next 2 to 3 months. Because I see that for some of you. Some of you I see saying goodbye to an opportunity because you are starting somewhere else. Something else has come up. So there's definitely changes in a career sector. But the most important message here is don't avoid the obvious, which is stay true to yourself and stay honest with yourself. And some of you are choosing to put the blinders on. If I can't see it, it's not there. That's not a good way to go. It's called denial. And that almost always makes us unhappy. Some of you need to make some changes within your work environment. Maybe it's changing hours. Maybe it's changing the way you work. Maybe it's changing because the foundation of work is changing. And when I feel it's the foundation, it's the way you choose to work or the way you express. Yes. For some of you, it may be as simple as changing the way you work, looking at your work differently, maybe adding certain things or certain components, if you can, to make your job more sustainable or more enjoyable. So for some of you, it's going to be a drastic change. For some of you, it's going to be some change. But fundamentally speaking, there are some changes around work and career for many, if not for most of you, under the sign of Taurus. Okay? And then I hear the word good luck. I don't see this as negative. As a matter of fact, I actually see this as a very positive, although I don't feel it's going to feel that way for some of you, because I feel like there's a bit of an ending here. I feel like there's an end of a cycle, call it that. But after an ending, there's always a beginning. Or in other words, in order for something to begin, something must end. So sometimes you need to walk away from something in order to open yourself up to something new. And that is what is being said here, and it's also to do with the energetic change. Now, the card about health, again, I have two. He asked me specifically to pick two cards. The first card we have is Just Breathe. It's another mental card. It's in reverse. When I hear this, or when I see this card, I hear an anxiety, unable to sleep, tossing and turning. And for some of you, I feel that you are worried about somebody else's health, their situation, whatever it is that you are connected to or connected with, or whoever you're connected with. I feel like someone you are with is struggling with something, and it's not, even though it's temporary, it feels like a long struggle. And that may bring up some anxiety within you. For some of you, in order to deal with your anxiousness, whether it's because of this or something else, you need to spend more time outside. Some of you, I'm seeing fishing outdoors. So maybe for those of you, males or females, you like to go fishing and you haven't done it in a while, or you need to be outside and you need to be alone. And I feel like you need to get out of the house. So I actually feel very claustrophobic when I tune into this energy. So some of you may have been cooped up in the house too long, and you do not have enough outlet other than your job or other essentials or responsibilities. And I feel like I'm suffocating. Some of you need to address your headaches. There's a couple of things that I'm hearing. Not enough water for some of you. So some of you are very dehydrated. So if you're drinking a lot of coffee and not water, that will have an effect. Some of you are having muscle spasms, and that could be, again, due to dehydration. And obviously, always check this out with your doctor and just make sure that, it's nothing more. Some of you need to have a higher calcium uptake or intake, and as a supplement. Some of you need extra supplementation with your calcium for whatever reason. Well, he's showing me bones, so maybe some of you easily break bones, or you're at the age where you're getting to be elderly. For whatever reason, if you have had a feeling of needing more calcium and this is coming up to you, listen to your intuition, but some of you need a higher calcium intake. Some of you, I see you are very healthy, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, but you need more protein. So if those of you who are especially vegetarians and you are mostly on plant-based foods. Some of you may need more protein. I'm clearly hearing this. Now, some of you may not be vegetarians and you just eat lots of maybe other stuff, but some of you need more protein. Some of you either eat a lot of eggs and you're not supposed to, or some of you actually have an allergic reaction to eggs, and it's specifically called albumin. I think that's the protein found in egg whites. I'm not sure, so just please check that out. And you're having allergic reactions, but you don't know what it is. And for some of you, I feel this might be something new that's coming up. You maybe have had eggs before and there was no problem, but it seems to be causing an issue now, and it's puzzling you what it is. Pay attention to how you feel after your eggs. Maybe just remove them or remove egg white from your diet for a while and see if you notice a difference. It may not be anything to do with dairy, because eggs are not dairy actually, but some of you have a problem with eggs and you don't know it, but you're puzzled. Some of you need to address your thyroid, and I hear the words swollen glands. So maybe some of you have swelling here in the glands and you need to have it addressed in order not to compromise your health further. So if you have had this and you're just kind of thinking it's nothing, go check it out. Or if you are under doctor's care, just keep an eye on it, because I'm feeling that there is something that needs to be checked on a regular basis. Some of you either have an earache or an ear infection, and some of you need or will have an earache or infection, and some of you need vitamin B5. That's not related, I don't feel, but obviously always check it out. And I'm looking at the time, because the longer the message is, the more time it takes to load. The next card you have is awaiting results. So some of you are awaiting tests, and these tests are going to turn out positive for most of you, but some of you are awaiting tests about something. Some of you need to do bone density tests, and that's maybe where the calcium is coming in. I keep hearing be patient, and for some of you it's because you started a new health regimen or exercise or both, and you need to be patient to see the results. For some of you, you've started on new medication. Some of you have migraines, and you need to be patient. You need to give it time to see results. For some of you, I don't know, this is very out of the blue. I hear insulin testing. I don't even know what that means. So if you are on insulin, or if you have issues with sugar, or the word insulin testing comes up. So whatever that means, if it makes sense to you, if it rings true, or if it kind of goes, that's interesting, look into it. And I think that's all I have. And also for all of us, he says, take care of yourself, not only mentally, emotionally, but also physically, and the other way around. We are in a process of change. There's no question about it, because there's a big number 5 in front of me, as if to remind me, yes, you're changing, and that's okay. And it might be feel a little bit shaky, not in a bad way, only in a way because we feel there's a change, but we don't quite know what to do with it. Don't do anything with it. Just ride through it like a wave. Just ride through it. But I think it's a significant change, and it's actually a good change, because it's a fundamental change that we are undergoing. I feel like it's going to last for a few more months, but the next 2 to 3 months, particularly the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm recording this on the 15th of May, is going to feel a little bit, and just right through it, okay? And I think that's all I have. I hope you like it. I hope it made sense to you. Of course, if you would like a private message, you can connect with me. That information is down below. Thank you so much for watching, for sharing, for liking, and for subscribing. It means the world to me. And again, happy birthday to those of you who had birthdays in April and in May. And I wish you best of luck in May and June, and I will see you in July. Take care.